Hello. This is my review on Mad Max Fury Road from 2015. I think it was released when it came out. The fourth installment to the Mad Max franchise. Oh yeah, just in case you didn't know, this is connected to the old timeline where Mel Gibson played Mad Max, so... Not really sure where exactly where this I guess takes place after sometime after one of the ones, or between the other ones, so it's not really sure exactly, unclear where this takes place in the timeline, but I know this, I hear this is connected to the previous three before this one, where Mel Gibson played Mad Max instead of Tom Hardy. I'm just going to say it. Tom Hardy, I don't know why they casted him as Mad Max, why they recasted him. Considering this is the same team that did the other Mad Max films I hear like the sequel in the movies of Mad Max movies this guy did, that directed or wrote. He has some serious battles with the franchise. Why not just bring Mel Gibson back to play the character again? I don't know. But then again, I don't know why they recasted Tom Hardy from Mel Gibson to Tom Hardy. Now, fair, Tom Hardy's a much better actor and has can do more, which is has more skills with acting than Mel Gibson, but he doesn't do anything that Mel Gibson wouldn't do as Mad Max. How he approaches the role and pronounces his words. He just feels like he's doing a Mel Gibson impersonation. It's of his version of Mad Max. And instead of really making his own scene while paying homage to the past, he does the opposite, and he just feels like a copy in the forms of playing by Tom Hardy that's playing Mad Max. It just feels like a Mel Gibson performance version of Mad Max in every scene when he's on camera. They really don't give Tom Hardy to do. He gets kind of the short end of the stick in this movie. Well, that's not true. They have a nice setup of what to do with Tom Hardy's version of the character when he's making his debut on the first time playing this character, and probably the last, depending on if they're making another one. I don't know for sure. I mean, I'll Google something, but I don't know if that's just like I stumbled upon something that I guess they're making a sequel to this, or one or two more sequels to this. One was Tom Hardy, but I don't know if that's this idea that hasn't gotten greenlit yet, or may not get greenlit, okay, or rumors or something, I don't know. So yeah, now, I guess people are a little divisive on how much screen time does Max have enough screen time, or does he not have really any screen time? Yes and no. He has plenty of screen time during the action scenes, however, that's all he does. Once the setup's over, that doesn't really that without no payoff of what to do with his character. Now, the setup for this character is basically Mad Max get captured and tortured by a cult, and apparently he's suffering hallucinations from ghosts from his past due to severe trauma he suffered from the past films of all the people he's seen died or died by his hands, or an enemy or a friend, or his wife and children. and therefore he's now hallucinating and time to time and seeing them back in the present because he's struggling with severe amount of PTSD, and he's kind of shut himself down for caring about others. Oh, now this is good. Now this is the setup that they do with Tom Hanks' character, but it's like once the movie gets the action gets going, the heist begins, it just puts a halt to that, instant halt to that, and doesn't really give you a closure or a really good focus on what the setup throughout the 3-act structure of the film during the entire runtime of the movie. So yeah. What is interesting now, I guess some people have debated that, or that Max in the movie I guess some people I don't know why some people I guess people like this movie a lot. Some people consider their favorite Mad Max film, and then but when it first came out, many people considered their favorite. Then I guess the public kind of died down. You know, what fills the rest of me? This action and stuff. Cool action stuff, like the kind of cool action you would see in a typical Michael Bay blockbuster film. That somehow has less character development than any Transformers movie or any Michael Bay movie. So basically, it's basically the Michael Bay movie, but without any characters talking or interacting. It's the action scenes kind of play like the action scenes in that movie Waterworld, with how they play out. Where it's basically it's this stuff followed by more stuff, and this stuff does this stuff, which activates this stuff during the action scenes. And that makes up more than, and that's basically makes up more than half of the movie, what goes on in this movie. And Max definitely gets free from being enslaved and in prison and tortured. Then he runs into this rebels of runaway women that run away from the cult and to some sort of safe haven that they think belongs somewhere, and it's nothing but a dry desert. So the leader of rebels is all heartbroken and sad, and Matt's kind of told her there's nothing going to be out there. And he just has a bad, and it's because he's this stuff happens all, so it's saying this little really safe haven, and it's just, and sure enough, Max is right. Oh, and a pregnant girl gets killed, and the leader of the bad guys does cuts open the stomach to see if the baby's alive, and the baby's dead basically because the pregnant girl went under the wheels, got ran over. So she's dead, the baby's dead, the unborn child's dead, blah blah blah. She doesn't get that much screen time or developed, so it's like, why would I care? The leader of the rebels has this robotic arm that's kind of busted and stuff. She does, so I don't really know. I don't think we really get her name actually, or any of these characters outside of Max. And when we do get these characters' names, the only one we get is Max, and that's because he just says his name's Max at the end of the movie, where the film's all wrapping up. And they're trying to save her life because she's bleeding to death. So he just like says, "My name's Max." And he just does his best Mel Gibson impersonation ever to say Max. And that's what, and how he just says like Mel Gibson would say it, you know? It's like, Max does help out these ladies, but now without being a bit of a prick. And basically, without being a prick time to time to them. And, yeah, so, which makes sense, he has shut himself down and shut himself out of, not letting himself care again, but, again, you wouldn't really, this is not really, I'm just going to say this is the worst fucking Mad Max we've ever seen. It's, yeah, the girl, they save the girl's life, Mad Max runs off and disappears, and leaves them behind in the safe haven, so, he just walks off and disappears, and that's the end of the movie. Mad Max Fury Road. Oh, and don't worry, the bad guys, they all died. Max and the girl and the woman leader of the girls team, rebels, killed them and stuff on the road during the more chasing and heists in third act, so yeah. So yeah, everything's all dandy and swelled at the end. Max disappears the film, and that's the end of the movie. Yep. And that's as much as the story. That's all for the story. Fuck. You know, maybe this wasn't worth anybody's time getting hyped about. Maybe this also wasn't worth getting greenlit. It's not a bad movie, but it's not really a great movie either. It's just, it's a 5 out of 10. This is average. It's okay, mediocre, you know? It's so underwhelming compared to what it could have been, you know? Because it was a really good setup for a character, Max to grow as a character. But, again, it doesn't want to, or maybe got edited out due to time to save, because they needed to make the movie short or something. Maybe there's a director's cut where the film's longer and it does. We do see closure on his character growth throughout the movie. It's all, other than outside a setup for a character arc for Max. Okay, I'm going to talk about my problem with this movie. Yes, my big bone I picked for this movie. It's like you know, it's my same problem with the Michael Keaton Batman movies and the first two Tom Maguire movies as Spider-Man. You know, Michael Keaton Batman when he played Batman and Batman Returns and all the other Batmans before Robert Pattinson, since Michael Keaton played the character, and all the other characters after that before Robert Pattinson, and it's like my problem with this movie is the same problem I have with those movies. It's more focused on theatrical. It's more not really focused on telling a relatable human story. It's just more focused on one thing, and that's one thing only. Just like get nuts and focus on the theatricality and make everything feel big and look big and expensive. But I'm sorry, but that doesn't instantly mean a good movie or a good story. Or one of my favorite movies. Or stories. As a whole. And it pains me to say this because I really love the Max character from the first three films. I thought he was really well developed in the previous three. And they always did something different with the character and give him a different character. I can show him growing. But this movie is why I think, you know, I always thought Max was similar to Marvel's comics of the Punisher from the comics. And the reason why I love 2004 Punisher, because it does take story elements from the first Max movie. The concept of good man gets done wrong, and nobody will do anything about it, so he decides to take matters in his own hands. And in time, he fills his heart and soul with vengeance and hate and stuff, and goes on a killing spree and stuff. That's a very powerful story, I think, and that's why I like 2004's Punisher movie a lot. Or is it 2005? The Punisher from the early 2000s, before Punisher Warzone, okay? And that's why I like the Max character. Like, he reminds me a lot of like Frank Castle from Marvel Comics in a way. But he doesn't feel like a total knockoff. He just feels like similar, you know, the premise, the idea, you know, in terms of how his story is told and how it unfolds in the first movie, and how it continues to unfold and develop throughout the trilogy and change, and as he changes. So, yeah. This movie, for some reason, the reason is for this movie, Fury Road, did not do that. It did not give me what I want. It did not give me growth in Mad Max character. It didn't press the reset button totally, but it didn't press the reset button where they completely rebooted his character and his growth, but he didn't grow as a character. And that's why I love the Max character, because he, you know, he's like one of those. He's basically a comic book, he's basically a comic book character. He's badass, but there's also a certain level of humanity to him. And besides this, something that you just want to fear and can't help be afraid of him, but also then you really look at like this. Then you find out this discovered as story goes on, this humanity and having this relatability, this stuff that makes him relatable and identifiable as a character. And that's what always drew me into the first three ones, is that the movies were not afraid to explore that side of the character, while also being grand and big and theatrical at the same time. See, I believe the best type of movies are the ones that as human and as theatrical as they are relatable. And, you know, as big as they are in terms of scale of action as or, you know, like I believe that as like as much as personal storytelling. I think that you see. I think the best movies is when you do both. When you tell something big and grand and challenges the imagination, blows your mind, while also telling a real human story that you can identify with, and saying that's a really lovable character, a very flawed character, or you know, that can grow and can change. That's what character arc is to me, and that's why I love characters as a whole. You know, and that's why I like movies as a whole, because I like having fun, but I also like be able to connect to the movie and to basically give a shit, and also that's just all I love about storytelling as a whole and characters as a whole, in general speaking. So, and that's why I love Mad Max, the character, so much, and why I think he deserves so much better than what this film gave him. And that's why this gets a 5 out of 10. It's average, mediocre. It's not that many reasons for me to come back watching it, unless I really don't have that many things on my mind, better things to watch on my mind, which is not really likely that'll happen, because there's so many good movies out there, and you know, it's like, it's kind of pains me to say this, because all this stuff, because I like Max, so I like his character. I really think he's awesome. You know, besides just a general badass. You know, so I think I have said all I can say. That's enough said. Goodbye.